Hi, my friends. Today I'm really excited because I have Alex here. Welcome, Alex. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
So I know that right now you're helping women in their hormonal health, but I also know that you went through your own journey to get here. And I think we would love to hear more about that journey and what really brought you to where you are now.
Yeah, I would be happy to dive in. So, yeah, I never expected to be a periodpreneur, which is what I call us working in this field. I never expected when I was 10 years old that someday I would be talking to people around the world about their periods. I would have said, "No, thank you. Don't want to do that." So, I think no one was more surprised than myself when I launched this company, to be honest. So, I have a degree in business. I studied business at Wartburg in Iowa. And as soon as
Mhm.
I was done, I moved to Peru for 2 years. I was a Peace Corps volunteer. So I lived up in the mountains of in this tiny little village in El Distrito de Piura. So in the north of Peru, I lived up in the mountains with a host family and I taught business classes and English and financial literacy and had a really interesting time. I came home, I did AmeriCorps. I was, I guess, really just preparing myself to be a professional volunteer for a lot more years when building my company. So I did a
Yeah.
year of AmeriCorps, and then I worked for some nonprofits, worked at a startup in California, and then realized I kind of hate working for other people because I've got a lot of ideas that I think are pretty cool. And if you've ever had an employee, you don't want them to do all of their cool ideas. You want them to do your cool idea. So I don't have a great time having a boss. And I said, you know what? I should do something about that. So I started a health coaching company in 2018, and that has eventually led me to doing all the work with the agenda period.
Awesome. Awesome. So tell me a little bit more about the agenda then.
Yeah, so the agenda was is a really interesting planner that helps women identify the four phases of their cycle, work with the four phases of their cycle for maximum productivity, and an impact in their lives and in their businesses. And I started this because when I was starting my health coaching company, I I was working with a business coach and she's like, you need to track your sales and that will really help you feel confident that people will keep hiring you in your practice. And I was like, oh, a spreadsheet. Okay, I'll make a spreadsheet. And I took it a step further and I started highlighting everything in green that had converted into a sale. So like I was like, green money, it's gonna help me manifest and like build my
Yeah.
business. Like, let's go. So I had this whole system. And then I kept seeing all these chunks of green pretty close together with like a lot of white in between them. And I was like, because I had dated everything and I had the names of everybody. And I was like, what the heck is going on here? And so I started to tie the dots between what was happening at work with my menstrual cycle, and I realized that most of my sales were happening on or around ovulation, like the ovulation phase. And then I'd have a lot of not converting calls during the end of my luteal phase, to which I would start crying and thinking I was going to fail at business and no one would ever hire me again. All for the next ovulation and follicular phase, get a bunch of new clients. And I was like, huh, maybe I should stop having sales calls during the time of the month where it's going to hurt my feelings and not be very successful. And so I
Mhm.
was kind of putting these ideas together, putting these pieces together, and I was in a meditation. And if you've ever read the book Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert, this is what it felt like.
Yeah.
It felt like something swooped into my head that was not necessarily from me, right? Like it really much felt like an outside energy. And the idea was to go this is what I thought the idea was telling me is like to go buy a planner that will help you plan with the four phases of your menstrual cycle. And I was like,
Yeah.
genius. I love it because I've heard about time blocking. I have a business degree, so I'm all about working smarter, not harder. Like, hell yeah, let me do cycle syncing for my work because I learned about it for exercise. I learned about it for eating. I was like, why aren't we talking about this at work? Of course, I'm sure somebody really cool has made a planner that I can go buy right now. I went to Amazon, struck out. I was like, okay, like Barnes and Noble. I went to every bookstore, any place that sold journals, Google. I had the weirdest search history and could not find a damn thing. And I was like, huh, maybe I'm supposed to do something about that. I don't know. But I thought it was so weird. And I was like, maybe that's why it's not on the market. Maybe no one has made it because it's just a weird thing and no one wants to do that. And so I sat with the idea for about a year and then I finally launched, like, kind of really lit the fire around May of 2020 or 2019. And so we had put out a call on Facebook. It was like, hey, are there any women in business who'd want to join a beta test? Because after I discovered everything about my cycle, I found one study of exotic dancers. And they split the cohort into women who are on their period and those who are not on their period. And every woman who was not on, or sorry, on birth control, and every woman who was not on hormonal birth control saw an increase in tips during ovulation, up to 30%. And I was like, okay, business use case, like 30% to the gross margin. Heck yeah, that really adds up over a lifetime if you know that, right? Like, cool, if I
Wow.
was that woman, I would pick more shifts during ovulation. I was like, that is good data to have. Why aren't we talking about this to all women? So we had 100 women sign up for our beta test in 1 week by just putting it casually out on the internet. I was like, oh shit, maybe we're kind of on something, like we're hitting a nerve here. And from that beta test, we launched our first crowdfunding campaign. We started getting into some more programmation, like business courses, went to a lot of different activities and workshops, and really worked hard to get the idea out there. And people, as they were finding it, they're like, this is amazing. When are you going to make a period app? I was like, never. There's like 100 of them. So like interfacing with customers in that way really led us down eventually to the pivot to launching the app. And it's had many iterations since then, but our North Star has always remained that we want everyone with a period to understand how to use their period and their menstrual cycle to benefit their own lives, goals, and ambitions. So
Ah, oh,
that's a
love
lot.
that.
It's a lot.
No, that's great. That's great. So maybe for those of us out there that are not really familiar or maybe confused about the phases, could you maybe briefly explain the phase and what we should be doing if we are working during that phase?
Absolutely. So this is one of my favorite topics on the planet. And I know that a lot of us, like, once women start to hear about this, there's this look on their face. And this may be happening if you're listening. You're like, oh crap, like I'm recognizing something. Like, intuitively, this makes sense, but what exactly does this mean for me? And how would I even begin to apply this or understand this content, right? Because it feels like something we should have always known. And I think we did always know on the inside of our bodies, right? And we just didn't always have access maybe to all of that information, but it looks kind of like this. So when we're on our period, our first day, that's an easy place to start the cycle because it's really easy to track. So we always say start tracking your period or your cycle, the new cycle from day one of your period. And so a lot of times people will use the word cycle to mean just the menstrual phase, but that's really one of the four phases. So when we look at the complete cycle, it's from day one of your period all the way to day one of your next period. So that can be a range from about a healthy range can be anywhere from 25 to 37, even 45, to kind of depending on your hormones, right? So there's that range in there. Most women fall around the 25 to 30 day window. So, and I found for me, when I'm really healthy, when things are churning and burning, I'm at solid at a 28, and people look at that as aspirational, but that's just my cycle. So really kind of understanding your cycle is the thing that's really important. So we start counting our cycle on day one of our period, and this is the time for planning. And you may hear that as like, what? I don't have energy to go do, but that is the point. When you're on your period, you are really deeply into yourself. There's actually a lot of communities that talk about this as a very spiritual time for them. They may have even heard the red tent phrase tossed around, like this idea that women will kind of go away or solve problems on their period. And that's because the kind of the portal between life and death is opened up. We are releasing a lot of things, and we're highly tapped into because our hormones are at their lowest hormonal point, we're really tapped into a lot. We can have a lot of great intuition come up. And so there's this phrase from the Lose Warrior podcast called bleed on it. And so that's what we tell people. If you got something meaty that you're chewing on, make sure it feels good on your period before you agree. Buying a home, taking a new job, um, getting a divorce. Yeah, definitely bleed on it. All of those things, bleed on it before you make these big decisions, right? So really thinking about, what does this mean for me? How can I integrate this information? And so that is the time in your cycle that can also be most equivalent to the winter. So think of the things you would like. It's like your internal winter time. What are the things that feel really good to you in winter? And those can be clues for how to tend to your body in this phase of your menstrual cycle. So deep, relaxing stretching, maybe cocooning behavior, more time to journal, more time with warm foods, right? Complex carbohydrates. Think of the things you would use to tend to your body in the season of winter. And those are some great indications for how to tend to your body on your period if you're coming to this for the first time. So that's phase one. You want me to do all four of the phases?
If you want to, I think it's amazing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I'll
because
dive into all of them.
I always get a little confused too. So thinking of it like winter really helps me, like what I do in winter. So yeah, go for it. Keep going.
Yeah. And if you don't have a period, like if you have a really irregular cycle, or maybe you're going through menopause, perimenopause, you're pregnant right now, if you have a free range cycle, as I like to call it for whatever reason, you can
Mhm.
also tap into the energy of the new moon. So when the moon is dark in the sky, so those are kind of the pieces, the three pieces that line up: period, new moon, and winter. So kind of thinking of that as you're starting to track this pattern. This is the recipe back to ourselves. Next phase is the follicular phase. This is when estrogen starts to rise, luteinizing hormone will start to rise, follicle stimulating hormone starts to rise. So the batch of eggs that has been preparing for maturation over the last 100 days is kind of like racing to the finish line right before you come up to ovulation. So this pushes us into a very pro-social programmation where it's easy to say yes. It's easy to juggle a lot of things. We have high estrogen makes us feel high energy, high vibe. So the plan that you just carefully crafted quietly in your menstrual cave, like how this is how we like to think about it, actually plotting things out on your calendar, reminding yourself, oh, hey, in 3 weeks, you do not want your mother in law to come visit. In 3 weeks, you do not want to take your daughters with all her friends shopping because you don't want to be around teens and that much noise. But if you let your follicular phase plan your calendar, she's gonna put crazy stuff in there that you are not gonna want to do in 2 weeks. And then we have that very predictable pattern of 3 weeks later being pissed off at the whole world. Like, why did I agree to do this? I don't even want to have people around me right now. And blah, blah, blah. And then people say, you're overreacting. You're being crazy. What's wrong with you? You wanted to do this. You put it on your calendar. And because we can't quite see how to tie those pieces of information together because they're just far enough separated in time, women feel really bad about themselves and they feel really rejected and kind of stupid often. Like, what's wrong with me? Why do I keep doing this? Why am I such a raging, ouchy person right now? I don't want to be like this to my family, but why the hell did I have to agree to go to a parade today with fireworks going off?
Right.
Like that's the intention of planning it on your period when you're quiet and you're still. You have more clarity around your capacity throughout the rest of that cycle.
I
So
need to bleed on.
follicular phase, you want to bleed on it. Yeah, bleed on it. And then you want to take that information and then the calm one has made your plan. Now the active one gets to go do the plan. And that feels really good for that phase. That the follicular phase is not a good planner. She's a good like, hey guys, where's the party at? Let's go. It's a good time for networking, going to a new meeting, starting launching a new project, right? All these things that you can feel that energy of like go, 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 go. Those are great projects to give to the follicular phase when we really start to understand that women are four different people with like different skill sets because of the way estrogen drastically impacts our brain chemistry, it's like, oh, that's instead of feeling like we're crazy, I'm like, that's so cool. I have four really unique skill sets. And when I know who's in charge of what bucket and I give them that work to do, my entire life is easier. And I get more done with doing less work every single time. Amazing. We love that. That's
Yeah.
so cool, right? That's a really different
Mhm.
way than we're taught to think of our bodies as unpredictable,
Mhm.
lazy, hormonal, crazy. It's
Mhm.
just that no one gave us the book. No one gave us the leaflet of like, hey, these are the things that feel really good right now. So instead of fighting what feels really good right now, honor the phase that you're in and
Mhm.
orient everything else in its proper phase.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
about
And
how a lot of women and myself in the past have been like, I'm tired. I'm tired all the time. Well, I'm probably tired during that first phase. And then the second phase, I might be, tired because I'm going all the time. But then I've also made a bunch of plans during that. So the third and fourth phase, I'm tired. Yeah, I'm tired all the time because I'm not using
all
my
the time.
cycle. Yeah, the
Yep.
way they're
And
supposed
if we just rest the first 2 or 3 heavy days,
to.
I
Hmm.
actually realize I don't have cramps when I'm resting. And it's almost
Yeah.
like your body trying to get you to pay attention. Like, hey, I'm doing some really intense work right now. Can you just chill for a couple
Yeah.
minutes? If you would just chill on the couch for a day, I promise you, you're gonna get a lot more energetic return because that is that vicious cycle. When I have not rested enough on my period and I jump too fast in, because then you still have the energy go zap up so you're tired, but your brain's like high on estrogen now. And it's like, no, it doesn't matter. Let's go, go, go. We don't. Then you get like you're more worn out and then more worn out. And by the time you're in the luteal phase, you want to light everything on fire and never come home and never answer your phone ever again and never talk to your husband, right? It's
Yeah.
just like, I can't do any of this anymore because I'm exhausted. Yeah, I think all women kind of can see themselves in this story
Yeah.
because we've been so disconnected from how it's supposed to be and how it's supposed to feel in our bodies.
Yeah.
But Follicular phase is like so that's it lines up seasonally with springtime. So think of the things in spring. I notice I don't eat as much because I'm on the go. I want lighter, crunchier foods, crisp foods, light, lean proteins that are going to give you that boost and like keep you going. So think about what are the things that you like to do in spring? You may want to be outside more. You may want to get your face in the sunshine, which is good in all of the phases, but really think of like attuning to the springtime vibes. And from the moon, if you're tracking with the moon, this is the waxing. So this is when we go from the moon being blank to like starting to grow in brightness every single night. Then the next phase is ovulation. This is the shortest phase, and this is like our inner summer. This is the inner summertime. And I know I'm not alone in feeling like summer is the shortest season. It's way too short, right? But it's potent. It's hot. It is high libido because we have high estrogen, high testosterone. This is the time where we peak highest in testosterone, highest in luteinizing hormone. So this is a time where we are very potent. I'm ovulating right now. You can see my face is very symmetrical. If you look at pictures of me throughout the cycle, I'm cute, but I don't always look the same. I look the peak in because like it's your body is trying to do that right now, right? So like all of my headshots I take when I'm ovulating. All of my try to do my investor pitches around ovulation. I try to do a lot of those things because I will have the confidence in myself. And when you have the confidence in yourself, it's easy for people to feed into that and agree with you. So you're very hard to say no to when you're ovulating. This is a great hack for your husband. He won't even know, but just like shoot for the moon during your ovulation phase. This is a great time to receive what you want. And it can, in a world that is so obsessed with women being beautiful and smiley and happy, I call it the like the myth of the ovulating woman, right? Like if we think of Hollywood, all the women were kind of holding up as these cultural ideals were likely ovulating, or they are subconsciously made to look like women who are ovulating. Very fertile, very happy, joyful, easy to say yes to. That is exhausting if you're doing that all of the time, which then I'm always like, thank God ovulation is the shortest phase because I don't get enough done for myself when I'm
Mm-hmm.
so busy saying yes to everyone. Fun, it's breezy, it's carefree. It's like it's summer. It also lines up with the full moon. So think of that potency, like literally like the egg popping out into the night sky, right? So like that is the ovulation energy, which again, I am glad is short-lived because it's really there's a high social cost for us to be in that phase. And women are just used to paying that bill all the time, right? Women are just used to like, okay, I'll just keep saying yes, just keep saying yes, which is why when we get to the luteal phase, which is our final phase, kind of split into 2 weeks, I think is why we can have a lot of anger and bitterness because we were kind of rejecting our own boundaries by saying yes too much to everybody in the first 2 weeks of our cycle.
Yeah.
And then the tax comes to get paid by the time we're in the luteal phase. And for women going through perimenopause, we're seeing this almost kind of devastating set of circumstances where 70% of divorces initiated by women happen during perimenopause. And they even call it gray divorce. And what I think is women are fed up because they have spent decades not listening to their own boundaries,
Mm.
not taking
Yep.
care of themselves, not holding a line in the sand with their partner or their children or their job and giving and giving and giving and giving and giving of themselves. And there is nothing left in the tank.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Yeah, that
there's
makes
can be a lot of rage that comes out during this time, right?
yeah.
And when properly attuned, what our skill set, we're very pro social the first half, we're very pro self the second half, and the luteal phase is like the second half. And so what that means is the things that are important to us, if we're paying attention, we're really good at analyzing, organizing. Think in your business, onboarding people. Think in life, um, Costco run, clearing the clutter, spring cleaning, organizing your pantry, all the school events for kiddos. It's really like things can be in a really good order in our brain because when it's unhealthy, it can be nitpicky or like naggy.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
think of that energy when that energy of nagging and nitpicking, that's like small detail work, right? That's like that's like a fine-tooth comb. Give that energy something to do
Yeah.
that feels productive because the luteal phase wants to make sure that everything's going why it's pro self is because you're carrying a potential pregnancy and so it wants to make sure that that is safe. So
Yeah.
your sense of smell changes, like your nose gets wider, you smell more things, which is why smells you liked in the beginning now irritate you at the end. Maybe a cologne your husband wears, you're now like, ew, get away from me. Why are you wearing that? And he's
Yeah.
like, what's happening? You love this cologne. You're like, not today. It smells horrible. Literally everything about our biology changes as we go through the phases. So we don't like the same things on the same days. We just don't.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that's like the luteal phase is like our inner autumn. So thinking of it as the harvest, the wrapping up, the culmination. And when you allow it to do those projects, it can feel really, really good. And then you move on to another cycle again and your period starts. And we like when we look at the micro and the macro, we live on a cyclical planet. The months of the year are about 12 to 13, which is how many menstrual cycles women have. The four seasons line up with these four phases. Like our entire planet is very, very feminine.
Right.
And we are seeing what happens when you live so out of alignment with the way that things are supposed to be.
Yeah.
It's devastating to the system.
Yeah. And again, it makes you think that you're the angry one or you're the one that's going
You're
crazy
the
or
problem.
yeah, I'm the problem, it's me. When
Mm-hmm.
really it could just be, it's the problem because I'm not following my seasons correctly. And I love that
Yes.
you put in the moons because I am in perimenopause right now. So it's nice for us, as we get there and our periods are so irregular or none that we can still go on the moon.
Yeah, yep. And we use this even with women who are completely postmenopause, and the feedback we've gotten consistently is like it feels nice because even though I thought it was annoying when it was happening, I kind of miss it. And
Yeah.
so having something to orient myself to, like the first calendar that humans created was around the menstrual cycle. It's
Yeah.
crazy. It's really crazy, right? It's so, so crazy. And so it's nice. Women, like older women have told us, it's really nice to have something that I can like anchor my attention back into and it helps me feel feminine. I'm like, that's so cool. I love that. I love that. Being able to tap in because that's one of the other myths is like women who are postmenopause are they're useless now. They're like they can't make more children. Like this is in modern society, right? So like having something for people to like fight back against that with and like really continue to tap into their femininity. I'm like, oh, I love it. I'm so excited. That's so cool.
That's great. That's great. Um, and so this can be found on your app. Is that correct?
Yep. So we have got an app, we've got a planner, we've got a lot of just different content, and we're really working with putting everything with these four colors so your brain can start to associate what phase you're in. Because the thing that we have just launched right now on Indiegogo is period perfume. So it is actually perfume that is for the four phases of the cycle, so
Mm.
that so that you can really have that moment for ritual for yourself in the morning and then also really support your hormones and support your pH. So there's no yucky stuff in it. It's allergen friendly because a lot of women with bad periods have migraines based on their products that they're using. And so yeah, we're all of this is all connected into our app, which is free to download at the agenda
Yeah.
period.
That's awesome. And I'll have all that link below for sure. Um, and it's just so great. I think this just goes into my podcast so nicely because it's all about taking care of yourself. So if we are showing up for other people, confused or angry or frustrated or tired, taking
Yeah,
care of ourselves first and using an app like yours where we can really line up what should be happening in those seasons, then lets us go and show up for the people in our lives more patient, more regulated, happier.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's such a good point because people may hear this podcast and think like, "Well, Alice, I can't change my whole schedule, so what do you want? I guess I can't use what you've got going on." Like there is so much that even happens in my life as a founder I'm a twin. I have twins. Like I'm a mom. I understand how complicated it is. So my life does not always get to match the phase that I'm in, but understanding the thing that I'm needing, even if I can't change my schedule, gives me so much more grace and patience because I'm like, oh, that's why I'm feeling kind of cranky about my kid's attitude right now. Okay, then I can take it seriously, but not personally. And I'm like, how about I order DoorDash for dinner tonight and kind of take that thing off my plate? Or I'm going to call my partner and see if he can pick up the twins instead, or whatever the case may be. When you have the cognitive awareness of it, it allows you to go about your life in a different way that I think is much healthier and much more productive.
Yeah. Yeah. When you're in that planning stage, you can look at your month and be like, there are all these things that I have to do, but how can I make them easier? Like you said, there's sometimes that I have meal prep like a crazy person, and there's sometimes where I don't want to even look at a recipe. So that's the
I
time.
would wonder where that was in your cycle. I'd
Yeah.
want to see where you I've got some ideas, but you have to email me afterwards, see what you find.
Yeah, definitely.
That's so
And
fun.
Also, like you said, having somebody help you pick up kids or drop off kids, or knowing that, like, you know
Yeah.
what, today maybe I need to put a nap in my day and hang out on the couch
Yes.
before I go do the other 5 things that I have to do. So,
Yeah.
yeah, this is really exciting. I love it. Um,
Yay.
I love how you explained it too. I do have to say I appreciate that. I've heard this many times, and I think I get bogged down because there is, oh, you should eat this and exercise this way and play, and then I'm like, okay, now that's too much. But just thinking of it
Much.
in the seasons and like, oh, I know what I like to do in the winter. That made it much easier.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm so glad. And it's just like, and then you can, the great thing about having it is like you get another one, and so you're in menopause. And so you can keep experimenting. And so I found like that also it's like this, it becomes like this almost weirdly spiritual thing, right? It's like, oh, this is just a phase, meaning this thing is gonna pass, even if I'm having a tough time right now. And that, like, this reminds me, because I'm in this daily practice with my body of understanding what in the past may have felt like limitations, but really I'm like, okay, what is the benefit that I can get here? What's the best thing that I can do here? How can I make this feel easier? Because I know there's another phase just around the corner. And so I think it has given me a lot of freedom and flexibility to see my body in that way, and it's been really healing.
Healing. I would say really exciting too for a lot of people to just understand themselves better, for sure. Yeah.
Yay.
Ah, this is very exciting. One question I ask everybody on my podcast, because it's called Nurture Herself,
Yeah.
and obviously you are very good at nurturing yourself through your app and through understanding your body and listening to your body. But what is something, maybe one small habit you do every day to nurture yourself?
This one has been hard, but it's something I've been really cultivating. And this is hard for a lot of women, but having a daily movement practice. So many of us
Mm,
come from the world of exercising only out of a punishment, a place of like self-hatred. And so coming from movement in a place where, like, I've been realizing that I had some like more period cramps than I wanted, even though I'm eating pretty well. I know a lot about my hormones, but I wasn't doing, I never really redid core work after my twins were born. And that is a pretty traumatic event to the abdomen. And so if you think cramps cause inflammation, if you don't have a hard core coming back, then everything just like it doesn't feel good. It can increase your level of cramp. So really having that strong core that's supporting your back and your abdomen. So that is something I have been really, really working on is 30 minutes of movement daily. And then it changes. The way that it changes is having the flexibility with my cycle. So I do a lot more yoga or Pilates on my period. And then I like to do more running or even strength training in the follicular and ovulation phase and more so the exercises change and I work them with my cycle and understanding what's going to be easier. Sometimes I add more weight, less weight, but getting into a movement practice that I could commit to every single day has been really important because it's one that I had a really complicated time with for a long time. And it's hard
mhm.
not to when you grow up in diet culture, like thinking about how we talk about women and their bodies. And so it's been a really reclaiming process for that as well, for me to do it in a way that feels healthy and really rejuvenating.
Yeah, I love your answer for so many reasons. First of all, because you said 30 minutes, which I feel is so much more doable. And if you go past that, that's great. But just like having that small step, but like I'm gonna get 30 minutes in is great.
Yeah. And it
Also,
can be a walk.
right.
Great summer walks right now, right? Like it doesn't have to be the same thing. Your body just needs to move.
Move, yeah, and shift the energy inside of you and get stronger. And I also appreciate that because when I really got my mindset to be around this is actually keeping me saner and not just like this is keeping me skinnier, a huge mind shift for me. And now I crave it and I love doing it because I am like, ooh, this is like, again, shifting that energy, moving my mindset around, and I come out like super happy instead of like, oh, this is something I gotta do. Yeah,
Yeah.
I crave it.
Yeah, I was also a late in life diagnosed with ADHD, like a lot of women are, because our ADHD shows up very differently than men's. And so I also realized how important it is for regulation of dopamine, especially for me in the luteal phase. The more that I work out, the less PMS I have, because it is not about the size of my body. It is about what is going on to those chemicals. We just have so much less access to estrogen during the second half of our cycle. So yes, it like I'm so glad you brought that up because exercise has really become part of my mental health routine that I
It-
did not ever anticipate before. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yep. No, I never thought that
Absolutely.
there, and now I'm like, yeah, this is keeping me sane. This is really really good for my head. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah.
Awesome.
Love.
Well, thank you so much for being on here and spending some time with me. I feel like I've taken a lot of notes. I am really excited to go check everything out. I know my audience will be as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been a lot of fun.
Oh, good, good. And all of you out there, just look at all the links below. Definitely go check this out. It is a life changer for you. I really think like before I even knew the phases, just understanding that where my emotions were coming from and what time of
Yeah.
month those were huge. And now there's all these like there is this app that can help you with it. So go check it out. Thank you very much, Alex. Thank you guys. Remember, as I always say, choose yourself. I love you. I'll talk to you soon.